What's up folks, my name is Sir Medieval and today we'll be jumping into none other than Amazon's new world yet again. For today's video we'll be diving into the recent details that have both surfaced in the new world community and the first media impressions themselves. Plus we'll even be jumping into the open world PvP aspect, which has been on everyone's mind for the past few days since the announcement. For this one I'll be following most closely the MMORPG article posted on their website that also features a few direct quotes from the new world staff. It starts off by describing Amazon's new world revealed during the Game Awards, a first look at the upcoming project from that studio which looks very promising. Set in the twilight age of exploration during the 17th century, we'll be exploring the island of Eternum, also known as the Eternal Isle. This upcoming game is being showcased as an open world MMO, complete with player-run settlements, guilds which are known as companies in this game, skill-based combat and classless character progression, and of course, it's being developed and shaped by none other than Papa Amazon themselves. Which means for good or bad, we're in for one wild ride. Now Eternum itself, at first glance looks very beautiful and incredibly varied, with magical places, ruins, and settlements all dotting its landscape. We can see a bit of this in the trailer, but we also see these very same locations get heavily corrupted and tainted to show a very different side of the island. One thing that was mentioned a long time ago was that when the game goes from day to night, you'll see a very different type of assortment when it comes to the creatures and humanoids you'll encounter. And I really hope that remains a thing going forward. They then follow this with the quote direct from Christoph Hartmann, Vice President of Amazon Game Studios, in a press release that's accompanied with the announcement. They state that they want the players to feel the depth and the danger of the new world from the moment they step onto the shores of Eternum in May 2020. They have also been working tirelessly to create a deep, immersive world that delivers challenges and surprises at every turn, and they are very excited to reveal more of that today. It's also important to mention that although the launch of the new world still remains in May, we may be seeing the closed beta for the game beginning in April after all. The next topic they go into is one of great interest to me. They state that how us as players will establish ourselves in the new world will depend on the type of player. As mentioned before, New World is a classless based game. Our weapons and armor choices will help determine our play styles. And in terms of the combat itself, hit volumes, physics, and both timing and location will matter in this aspect. The reason this part is interesting is because they go on to say that for us that enjoyed the alpha previously, we'll be noticing a change to the combat as well, because now New World will be using a weapon mastery system as opposed to the one we used before. They also give an example for this. For instance, if we want to focus on sword and shield, we can choose to focus on damage with a different set of abilities and possibilities that we can choose from, or we can choose to focus working with our teammates to tank for them and support them. This reminds me a lot of the system that Albion Online utilizes, and I'm hoping we'll see echoes from that system when going down this classless based progression. I think it's an amazing change that a lot of players are going to love. For me personally, I'm planning on going straight down the crafting line. I've got some unfinished business as a blacksmith in sandbox MMOs, and I intend to go down that journey again. The next thing they talk about is weapon swapping, stating that New World wants its players to be fluid in their approach to combat, allowing us to easily swap out weapons and change up what we bring to a fight. Stating that one of the staff members also mentioned that one of the more enjoyable aspects of their job is designing the AI of each enemy to force players to come up with cool and unique strategies to defeat them. I can only hope that means that we'll have quite a few mechanics to overcome when fighting monsters and maybe even bosses. And continuing on, proper planning is a big part of the game as we reach the higher tiered content. Assessing what we're going up against and adjusting accordingly will be a very important part in ensuing victory. And then, one of my favorite parts comes up. They state that weapons aren't the only thing we'll be using in the new world, as the world of Azoth imbues and amplifies the power around it, giving the Eternal Isle the opportunity for magic. And with that, I really hope that we'll be seeing magic on the launch of the game. That's one of the things that players have been waiting for so long to experience, and I'm really excited to see it come to fruition. They say that we'll be able to join different schools of magic and discover the supernatural surrounding Eternum. And even us crafters can imbue weapons with power to create wonderful and magical artifacts. They then go into the player-run settlements being a huge part of Eternum. Companies can be formed and claim land all on their own, with all the territories in New World being controllable. We'll be able to manage tax rates, crafting fees, upgrades to settlements, and so on. However, one part they do talk about is although many games have freeform creation tools, New World will instead have predefined settlements with predefined layouts. Governors can also choose how the settlement wants to focus its economy, crafting, or how they upgrade the settlement based on their focus. There will also be chances for other people in the territory to help out contribution-wise. So when a governor wants to upgrade their crafting, for instance, they can create a town project to upgrade the crafting stations. This allows everyone who lives in or around the settlements to help pitch in on the project. In terms of how players would conquer the settlements, that's where we get into the spicy bits. According to David, the player experience lead on New World, one of the main factors of the game is its territory conquest, which is basically where we and our companies will capture these different settlements and hold them versus other players. Now for the conquest part, it appears that we'll be doing this via a 50v50 battle to determine who controls the fort. These forts will be powerful structures with siege defenses and high walls. And while the number of people in a company is not locked down, right now the maximum is 50v50 for the territory war itself, to obviously prevent zerging. They then state that holding territories is going to be difficult, especially because those forts will be highly desired, and trying to hold more than one will be a very difficult thing to do and will require dedicated groups. One of the cool things about the territory system as well is that not everybody living in a territory will belong to the same company. You may build your house in a governed territory, but you will still be a part of it and contribute to it accordingly. They say that the New World is heavily pushing to be a full-featured MMO with a lot of systems to keep players busy and advancing in a turnip. It'll be very interesting to see where the New World goes from here, but of course, to conclude the topic, we'll have to talk about the PvP aspect. Now, of course, the 50v50 battles aren't that big of a problem because that just means you'll need to take your 50 most skilled players into the fight to overcome the enemy, and I'm sure the majority of people that want to play the New World would prefer it to be more about skill than just sheer numbers, even though there will definitely be some that want that kind of thing, which is cool. But there has been some concerns regarding the flagging system. So far, a few articles have worded their description of the PvP system in a way to make it sound like you could toggle the ability to get PK'd on and off. Now, some have stated that these articles have been translated from other languages and that it's important to take them with a grain of salt because it could be possible they didn't fully understand how the system worked. However, there was some articles linked on Reddit that basically stated that it pretty much would be like that. And so because of that, a lot of members of the player base are waiting on an official statement from Amazon Game Studios regarding this. They want to know if PvP in the open world will be optional or not, which of course is a valid concern, and I would definitely stand on the side that's saying that you should have that player killing experience and open world skirmishes going on. It's very important for a sandbox game, and in some cases really helps to provide those many unique experiences that only games of this type can provide. And of course, a good example of what not to do is how Legends of Aria first handled their open world PvP system. If you allow everybody to be safe at all times, it removes the danger aspect and allows players to skyrocket to the end game of progression so quickly that they will just end up being bored as a result, because the challenge aspect is no longer there. Now that being said, even though I want the PK aspect to be there, and I'm saying this as someone who loves gathering and crafting, I'm not an idiot when it comes to thinking that there shouldn't be any safeguards in place at all. Because you see, although having too many restrictions on PvP is in fact a way to drive a large portion of the player base away, having too little restrictions can definitely do the exact same. It's a double-edged sword. Some of the best PvP sandboxes still have examples of restrictions like this as well. And I think personally, if you want to do it right, you need to have at least some sort of criminal system in place. People that constantly flag and kill people can only travel safely in certain areas or are in danger of losing all of their gear if they die. Or you could put out NPC guards like both Mortal Online and EVE Online had as well, even Worm had it in some cases too, both in the cities and outside of towns, maybe patrols on the road and things of that nature. Have specific outlaw regions that players who are criminal have to stay around to access crafting, building, etc., or they have to go all the way to their territory. The final suggestion I'd have is that it could be done like Albion. Give players a green zone, more than likely being the starting regions, and then a yellow zone where there are guards in certain areas or protections in place, but you could still be attacked and looted, and then a red or black zone where the most expensive and rarest resources are, where anything goes. That way players would have to work their way into it or buy what they need from those lands to avoid exploring into them. There's many ways this could work overall, but right now people are waiting on an official statement from Amazon regarding this. Hopefully everything will work out for them from this point on. And with that, folks, that is all the info we have for today. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful night or day, and farewell.